My name is Halim Flowers. I consider myself a cultural engineer, which means I manufacture, cultural assets in the interest of intergenerational wellness. Money is only a medium of exchange. It doesn't have intrinsic value. And so I think life wellness for me is just coming back to that essential, you know, intrinsic value of life, breath, happiness, joy, gratitude. But for me as a cultural engineer, like creating paintings, music, poetry, fashion, things that I call weapons of mass construction.
I'm the owner of Art Access Gallery on Bar Bummerfirth, and I've been in this same spot for 25 years. This is the old Bexley Post Office. I love when I find an artist that really has a purpose in their art, that there's a backstory that's compelling, that the art has a story, that when you look at it, you really have to think about it a little bit. It's not decorative. It's got a lot of impact that you don't see on first look. It just comes at you a little bit at a time, and I just think there was a lot of depth there.
Intergenerational wellness is a way of being in the now where you are emotionally well, meaning you're emotionally healthy, you're mentally well, meaning your mental health is good, and your physical health, and then your financial health. We should do the same for wellness. Sometimes I often refer to myself as an alchemist, and I recently did a talk like how to cage a butterfly, and it was about how when a caterpillar is entering the cocoon, it sees its end, but a master sees a butterfly. And so like how to me, the prison process was like a cocoon, and the word for cocoon is a chrysalis, which means gold. And so I think like the alchemy is not transforming base metals into precious metals like gold and silver. The true alchemy is like taking the base conditions in life and alchemizing it, transforming it into golden opportunities. So for me, like I said, you can teach art, but you can't teach creativity. And for me, through creativity, I found a way to alchemize the base conditions of mass incarceration, school to prison pipeline, to what I feel like is my liberation, not only physically, but economically, as a creative, cultural engineer, entrepreneur, business owner, and alchemize that into this golden opportunity, this blessed life that I have today. And so I think that whether it's prison, whether it's low self-esteem, whether it's, intergenerational illiteracy, an alchemist can take any base condition and transform it into something golden. Remember when I signed to my art dealer in New York City, he told me to watch a Jeff Koons masterclass. So I told him I don't have the masterclass subscription. He said, I don't care, get it. It's the only thing he ever asked me to do. When I watched it, Jeff Koons said that his practice is about mindfulness and non-judgment. It went somewhere where how you said earlier it went there. And so I think for artists to take that next step, the first thing is to recognize that whatever external validation or ascension, upward mobility that you're seeking, whether it's in your practice or being critically acclaimed and or commercially successful, I think it begins with the inner work of mindfulness, being fully present in your work, not thinking about like how many likes, how many views, but like what is your purpose of why you're doing this? Because if you can find your purpose, you can alchemize anything because you won't quit. But if you're doing it just for notoriety or commercial revenue, I don't think you'll be able to sustain what it takes to go to the next level. Because, going to the next level, bringing forth something new when nothing new is under the sun, requires a tremendous amount of inner work and stillness and presence and quieting the noise of people's expectations and judgments and their validations and their systems and institutions, to just purely be present with the work, and then not judge it, And so I think that a lot of times when artists ask that question, I think they're seeking like something like a book to read or something on their CV, and like, nah, you just have to do the inner work of wellness, and continue to do that. And once you understand that art is a wellness industry and not a decorative industry, and you start to research the impact of creativity on the brain with recent neuroscientific research, you'll understand that art is not an alternative asset to people's lives, but creativity is the most essential, from culinary arts to martial arts. It is the quintessential thread that ties all of humanity. One time when I was in prison, a guy named Nathaniel Taylor Bay, he asked me a question. He said, Halim, what is the biggest room in the world? So of course I'm thinking about the Taj Mahal, is it something in the White House or, some type of Rockefeller mansion? He was like, no, the biggest room in the world is the room for improvement. And so for me, what I do every day is I remind myself that I'm staying in that room, every day, whether it's, I got up this morning, I ran a mile, whether it's, just looking at my work and critiquing the work, or looking at other work, or just sometimes just being still and being present and just, as Michael Jackson said, channeling. Whatever it takes to get into that room, I'm getting into that room every day.
Trying to educate people that art isn't just things that are beautiful. They can be a lot of things.
If you put something out, some form of creativity, whether it's a cap or a poem or a movie or a documentary, just let the people be honest, but you don't do it for the people, you do it for the purpose.
Well, Cleveland found Halim through a friend and contracted with him to have a show there. And I go up a lot for some of their shows, and the director there called me and said, you've got to come. This is going to be really special. So I went to that show and loved what I saw. And after talking to Halim, really wanted him to come here.
I would encourage people to do an etymological study on the word genius. I think when people do things that are considered supernatural or miraculous, first I think it's because we've been taught to believe that we can't do certain things. And so when someone does this, it seems impossible. And then secondly, the creativity. When you look up the word genius in ancient times, it referenced like a genie that was like either in your estate or in your home. And it was something outside of you, fed you some information that people recognized was genius, and it was supernatural. So I think creativity, and I think being in a country where most people practice some type of traditional faith, a lot of people do, they can understand that creativity comes from the Creator, and it's not something that can't be taught, it's something that just has to be. And that's why it cannot be taught, because it's not something that comes from you, it's something that comes through you.